Well, my name is Camila Cortina Bello. I'm originally from Havana, Cuba. I was born there, and although half of my life have been abroad from my original country, the memories I built there are very important for me and for my music. Cuba is a very musical country. There is music and dance everywhere. It's in the streets, it's in the breathing of people, it's everywhere. And I think this is such an important tool that we have, to deal with the difficulties of the country. Because since I was very little, I remember my beginnings were very poor, but there was always dancing and music and singing, and that always helped us to cope with the difficulties of the reality. Yes, the streets in Cuba made a big part of my journey and who I am today. Even at home, I was listening already a lot of jazz because my sister was a student at the Conservatoire. She's 7 years older than me, but she was listening jazz at home all the time, and I was, all that information was getting in my ear. I remember when I had to audition for high school, one of the pieces I performed was Spain by Chick Corea. Again, I didn't improvise, it was a fully notated arrangement, but I loved it. I started composing music very early in my life. I think I started composing when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I strongly believe that the jazz influences came out in me first as a writer, as a composer, than as a piano player. And I think that this was the beginning of how I got into jazz. One of the most challenging aspects is also one of my best assets, which is being Cuban. Cuba is a beautiful country with such a strong musical heritage, but the same way is very patriarchal. It took me a very long time to just break out of the fear that, well, maybe this is for me. And that was the main challenge, not having, a community and a scene like I had later in my life, especially here since I moved to the US to study in Boston. Life had to take many turns for me to realize that, that it was my own homework to bring me as a musician where I wanted to be and to choose jazz as a pathway in my life. I think most of my memorable times have been sharing international stage with people that I don't know much about in countries that I don't know much about. When it comes to music and you're sharing the stage with somebody else that maybe is from France, maybe is from Africa, we have this common language. Been very fortunate to share a stage with some very big heroes in my life. Sharing the stage, especially abroad and with people from different cultures, that's something I really enjoy. Being an immigrant, like having to adapt myself to new places all the time is something that keeps me reflecting. How can I communicate this through music? Being a woman has become a very important point of reflection for me. And how do I want to present that in my music? Because for a very long time in Cuba, if anybody tells you, you're playing like a girl, it's something despective. It's like you are not being strong enough. And after research, after education, and after being surrounded by some of the most talented women that I really look up to, it's like, yes, I'm a woman, I'm going to embrace it in every single note and in every single possible composition I'm doing. So immigration, femininity, my Cubanity, being Black, keeps me thinking, keeps me reflecting about music and how I want to portray all these elements. At the end, always get me writing, gets me motivated to keep playing, and maybe one day become a role model for somebody else.